Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, we are sad. Shaddoll Adventure Dogmatika. We're taking out the Invoked engine, and now we're playing sad. As you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, that's what we are doing. So, it's a pretty standard list. We're just throwing in the Water Enchantress, or the Adventure engine, along with the Shaddoll and Dogmatika stuff, instead of the Invoked, as I mentioned. So, I'm just going to do the quick card by card. I've already talked about these archetypes. The only thing that I haven't is the adventure stuff. So I'll go over that a little bit more in detail. But let's quickly just do the card by card. So for the Shaddolls, I'm playing 2 Hedgehog. I found that I needed a bit more. So yeah, we're playing 2 Hedgehog. We're playing 2 Wendy, 1 Squamata, 1 Dragon, 1 Beast, and 1 Ariel. And then, of course, the Triple Fusion and the 1 Schism, pretty standard. And then I also threw in 1 L Shaddoll Fusion. Again, I felt like I needed a few more Shaddolls, just because without the Invoked line, we don't have as many options for summoning monsters onto our side of the field. So going for a few more Shaddolls felt like the right play after a bit of testing. Moving on, we have the Dogmatika stuff, pretty standard here. We have the triple Ecclesia, 1 Fleur-de-Lis, 1 Maximus, obviously the 1 Nadir Servant because it's at 1, and then the 2 Dogmatika Punishment. If you draw into it, it's still good, so there's that. And then for the Adventure engine, pretty simple. We're playing the 2 Enchantress, the 2 Rite of Aramesir, the 1 Griffin Rider, and the 1 Fateful Adventure. Now, if you don't know what this deck does, you banish Water Enchantress to get the Rite of Aramesir. Aramesir grabs you a token, and it sets the Fateful Adventure, or activates the Fateful Adventure. Fateful Adventure, you can activate it in order to search out a Griffin Rider, and then you discard a card. And then the Griffin Rider can quick effect special summon itself, and it is an Omni Negate as long as you still have that token from the Rite of Aramesir. Also, Fateful Adventure, what it can do is it can also grab Draco back. So when you special summon out the Wandering Griffin Rider, you get to either equip the Draco back to your token, or you can just add it to hand. And if it's sent to the graveyard in any way, and you have that token up, it can equip itself to the token. This also allows you to bounce cards back that your opponent controls. Just any card, target it, bounce it back, as long as it is equipped to that token. So, there you go. As for the rest of the cards in this list, we're playing 1 Effect Veiler, 1 Ash Blossom. These ratios are weird. I'm sure that you're confused. And I'm sure you've already noticed one thing that's really weird. But the reason for this is just because I can't really play too many hand traps, but I still wanted to play some of them. So, yeah, there's that. I'm playing 1 Pank as an additional going second tool. Again, I felt like I needed more monsters, and this really forces out interaction. And you kind of end on pretty weak boards going first that can be easily broken unless you go for a Schism specifically. In which case, Pankratops can kind of come down on turn 3 and force out some form of interaction, which is very nice. We're playing the 1 Nibiru, obviously. We have the 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, the 1 Foolish Burial, the 1 Lightning Storm. I wanted, again, more back row removal. I think this meta is very heavy with back row, and more specifically, spells and traps. So field spells, continuous spells, stuff like that, and being able to deal with them effectively was very nice. We also have the 2 Super Poly, 2 Called By, Triple Imperm. Imperm and Effect Veiler are 2 of the best hand traps in the current meta, so that's why we're playing them. And then, yeah, that's it for the hand traps. Yes, I am not playing Max C, and I hear you screaming in your mind, why are you not playing Max C? As I mentioned, Max C isn't really the greatest at the moment. It doesn't do enough, and people are playing so many outs to specifically Max C with Ash Blossom and with Called By and with the Crossout Designator that so many people are playing, that it felt like playing Triple Imperm was far better because there's only Crossout that really hits that card. And so, yeah, there's that. And it hits just about every deck that is currently in the meta. The one exception being Virtual World, but that's why we are also playing the Ash Blossom and the Nibiru and stuff like that. And I'm not really too concerned about Virtual World, so there's that. Moving on to the extra deck, we are playing the 1 Entis, as well as the 1 Titaniclad for our Dogmatika stuff. For our Super Poly targets, we are playing the 1 Muddragon and the 1 Starving Venom, and then a whole bunch of Shaddolls. The 2 Winda, the 1 Wendigo for our Super Poly target mostly. We have 2 App Cologne, we have 2 Construct, we have 1 Anatolia Tillis, I don't know how to say this, the 1 water one, and the 1 Sheki Naga. We have 2 links as well with Gravity Controller and Verte Anaconda. Verte Anaconda is used to either go into a Shaddoll fusion or a super polymerization. So both of those are very nice. And then Gravity Controller, you put the construct or any of your Shaddoll fusion monsters into the extra monster zone, you link them away into Gravity Controller, and then you can grab up your Schism, you can grab up your Shaddoll fusion, whatever it may be. So yeah, that's the deck. Let's hop into the replays and show you how this deck performs. Before we get on to the rest of the video, did you know that 70% of the people who watch my content aren't subscribed? If you end up liking the content, consider subscribing. You can always unsubscribe later if you end up not liking it. Anyway, let's get on to the rest of the video. Alright, so here we are going second. Now, this deck can go second as well as first pretty well. But we're playing against arguably one of the best decks of the format, if not the best deck of the format, with Prank Kid. So they are going to go Roxy's into the Meow Meow Moo, into Banish, into Fansies, and draw a card as well. Then they're going to go into the Doodle Doodle Doo. They're going to send the Pandemonium to the graveyard. Then they're going to tribute off, grab the Pandemonium, grab the Fansies, and with the Dropsies in hand, or on field, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. They're going to then go Pranks to grab up a token by sending, I believe they sent the Fansies, yes, into a second Doodle Doo. Out comes the Lampsies, and then they make a Predaplant Verte Anaconda. They're going to go for the Thunder Dragon Fusion, shuffle back 3 of the cards to go for the Battle Butler. And then activate the effect of the Predaplant Verte Anaconda in order to go into a DPE. They're going to set 1 and pass with 3 cards in hand. Oh, just kidding. They get to draw an additional card. And yeah, there you go. So, taking stock, they have a Raigeki, they have a card destruction, and they have what I would assume to be an Imperm. That tends to be what it is, but an unknown. And then whatever they happen to have in hand. Now, given what we have, it's not looking too great, and we draw into a Beast, but we do have a way to go into a Shaddoll Fusion. We have Rite of Aramesir, which is full combo for the Adventure line. We have an Imperm, and we have a Schism. So, notably, I'm gonna try and deal with the DPE here first, reason being, or sorry, no, I actually go for the Battle Butler, because a single pop is way worse for us than the Raigeki effect. So that's where we go with that. We go for the Rite of Aramesir, we grab up the token, we equip, or we activate the Fateful Adventure. They're immediately going to pop the token, which is odd that they go for the token, but I guess I would have gone for the Fateful Adventure. Also, they keep around their Predaplant Verte Anaconda. Okay, fair enough. We get to add the Water Enchantress to our hand, and since we sent the Shaddoll Hedgehog to the graveyard, its effect will activate as well to grab us up Aerial. So now we can activate our El Shaddoll Fusion, and we can send our Beast and our Aerial to the grave to go into App Cologne. App Cologne's effect is going to activate. We are going to target the Prank Kid Pranks to negate its effects. We're going to activate the Beast to draw a card, and we're going to activate the Aerial to banish the Dasher, the DPE, and the other card that they had. I forget. Hold on. What was the other one we targeted? It was, oh, Meow Meow Mew. So that they can't use it for the Battle Butler effect. Then I'm also going to Chainlink 4, activate the Fateful Adventure, and they are going to Imperm. As expected, that's Chainlink 5, no App Cologne, so their Prank Kid Pranks is now not negated. But we do have the Draco back here. And we draw into an Imperm, which is nice, but not really necessary. We're going to normal summon out the Water Enchantress, and then just link off into a Predaplant Verte Anaconda of our own. App Cologne is going to activate, which they will Ghost Spell, but it doesn't matter because we already have the Schism in hand. So we're going to target their monster and change it to Dark, then go for a Super Polymerization with our Verte Anaconda. They're going to negate their Battling Butler, but it doesn't really matter because we can still go for the Starving Venom, so didn't really do anything. They're going to Nibiru us, which is fine. Now I activate the Draco back, and I put it into the Imperm column because I genuinely forgot because it was so long ago. Anyway, so I don't get to bounce a monster, but we do get to add back the Rite of Aramesir. We have the Schism and the Imperm, and pass. It's not the greatest, but it's okay. So they're going to add the Prank Kid Place, as well as they're going to add Fansies to their hand. Then they're going to activate the Fateful Adventure. And here, I have a decision to make. So I can go into a Winda here, but Winda doesn't really do anything. It prevents them from special summoning once. But the thing is, they could just go to battle, walk over the monster, and then they're still able to kind of do what they need to do. So Winda is annoying, but it's not really as good. So what I actually end up going for here is I'm going to banish the Ariel and the Hedgehog to go for Anatolis. Anatolis is a water, and it allows us to send away the Dropsies to the graveyard while getting a slightly larger monster on our side of the field. And importantly, the opponent can't like special summon anything from hand or graveyard with spell or trap effect, which is like not at all useful. Because yeah, that doesn't really do anything. But they grab up the token. They're going to add the Draco back. They're going to activate their effect to grab up the Griffin Rider, sending the Draco back. And then they're going to go for a Link 3 of Nightmare Unicorn. At this point, I'm like, oh, okay, so this game is over, because we go activate the Imperm, negate the effect of the Unicorn, and they scoop it up. Yeah, Schism just kind of wins the game by itself. Alright, so here we are actually going first, and I drew Pink, which is very funny, but going first with Pink sucks. We also drew Fateful Adventure, not the greatest, but we're going to activate the Fateful Adventure and grab up the Water Enchantress, sending Squamata to the grave. Squamata effect is going to activate, we're going to send the Wendy to the graveyard. Wendy effect is going to activate, and down comes my... Alrighty, that's fine. We still have our Nadir Servant, so there's that. But we're going to set the Shaddoll Beast. Pretty standard here. We're going to activate the Fateful Adventure to grab up the Draco back, and then here comes the Nadir Servant. And we're going to send to the graveyard the Apkallone and add to our hand the Ecclesia. Activate the Apkallone, we are going to add the Schism, pretty standard, sending the Water Enchantress. Water Enchantress is going to banish itself in order to add the Rite of Aramesir. Now we're not going to activate the Rite of Aramesir, I'm actually going to set to go for the Dogmatika Ecclesia to grab up the Fleur-de-Lis and pass the turn. So we have Super Polymerization, we have the Schism, and we have a really good follow-up with Pinkratops, Rite of Aramesir, Dracoback, and the like. We also have Beast as well, and most importantly, we can just prevent them from basically playing the game. So down comes the Lady Debug, and after seeing this, I'm like, okay, they're playing a Cyberse deck. There's a high chance they're just going to Link 1. So I'm going to activate the Shaddoll Schism here in order to go and banish 2 for the Winda. So down comes Winda. They're going to go for the Spinny here. They are going to activate the Will of the Solomon Great. Then they're going to activate Spinny, and in sequence, they are going to activate to add the Gazelle. So they are going to have their Lady Debug at 2200, which is just enough to contest the Winda, and they get to special out the Gazelle. So Gazelle here is going to activate to send a Foxy to the graveyard. They're going to proceed to battle, and in battle phase, I will activate my Super Polymerization using the Beast that I have and their Light Monster to go into Construct. Construct effect, Beast effect, draw a card, and they scoop it up. What can you say? Too many win buttons. Alright, so here we are once again going first, and this is a very interesting hand. Now, my opponent has some form of interaction, and I noticed this, and so I'm going to play slightly differently from how I normally would. I'm going to start off with the Fateful Adventure, and I'm going to activate its effect in order to grab up the Water Enchantress, and then send the Water Enchantress. Water Enchantress effect is going to activate. We are going to add to our hand the Rite of Aramesir. I'm then going to activate it, and we are going to special summon out our Adventure token, and then we are going to equip it with the Draco back. We're going to activate the Nadir Servant in order to send our Apkallone and add the Dogmatika Fleur-de-Lis, and then we are going to add to our hand the Schism off of the Apkallone. We're going to activate Shaddoll Hedgehog to add Beast. Realistically, should I have added Beast here? No, but I did. So there's that. I'm then going to normal summon the Ecclesia, set 2, and pass. The reason I set the Shaddoll Fusion here is because I'm actually locked out of the extra deck now that I activated the Nadir Servant. And again, I was trying to play around something like a Maxi. I expected a Maxi to come down or something along those lines, Ash Blossom, etc. So I just don't activate the Shaddoll Fusion and instead activate the Nadir Servant. And I didn't really have anything that I wanted to fuse with this Shaddoll Fusion. So there's that. However, we do have Schism, and we have the Dogmatika Fleur-de-Lis as well. And we have this guy, which is difficult to deal with in battle. Now, they activate the E-Teleport in their main phase, which gives me access to my Shaddoll Schism during their main phase as well. But they go for the Called By here. They're going to Called By the Apkallone. So I actually do not have the dark targets necessary to go for a Winda. So I end up having to pivot, and I go for a Sheki Naga here instead, using the Adventure token and the Hedgehog. So out comes the Shekinaga. It's big, it's difficult to deal with, and most importantly, it does have a negate. So they are going to activate some Mermail cards, which with the Deep Sea Minstrel. This card allows them to basically just rip a card out of my hand. So they rip the Fleur-de-Lis out. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I still have the 1 negate. And we have the follow-up if need be. They're going to search out the Deep Sea Diva off of their Dragoons as well. Out comes the Neptibus off of the Deep Sea Diva, and they are going to then search out the Atlantean off of the Neptibus. Then they are going to search out a Water Elemental Lord in, I don't know how to say this, which requires exactly 5 water monsters in grave off of their Dragoons. Now, if you count, they have 1, 2, 3. So, if they use these 2, they can still make the 5, and they can go into Crystron Halqifibrax while also using the Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit on field effect. If you don't know, Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit has an on-field effect where it can tribute itself, or you can send it from hand to pop a face-up card that activates its effect. So, if they were to keep that on the field, my Shekinaga would die if it uses its effect to negate. So, there's that. However, I think they realized what my Shekinaga does, which is it negates and destroys. So, instead of trying to destroy my Shekinaga, they instead go for the Crystron Halqifibrax using the Ghost Ogre and the other non-tuner, so that they still get the 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 exact waters in grave. So, of course, I am going to negate the Crystron Halqifibrax, and down goes the Beast. Beast is going to draw me a card. They are going to Ash Blossom that, and I go, okay. And then they scoop. And I think the reason for that was pretty simple. They didn't really have a way to out the Shekinaga after the negation there. I think they could have specialed the Elemental Lord, but they lose their battle phase when it leaves the field. So if they were to Synchro Summon with it, or something along those lines, it really does stop their plans. And since I do have the Schism, I do understand why they surrendered. A little bit premature, but understandable. Alright, and here we are once again going first, but my opponent actually made me go first. So I'm guessing, I always assume if my opponent lets me go first, that this is going to be Numeron. So that is the plan. I'm trying to build a board around Numeron. So of course I'm going to go for the Rite of Aramesir, activate the effect, and we are going to go off to the races. Out comes the Fateful Adventure. They are going to Ghost Ogre that, which means it doesn't activate. This is why Ghost Ogre is so absolutely crazy, with field spells being so prevalent, as well as this card in particular being able to be stopped by that. That's why it's everywhere. Out comes the Nadir Servant, and I'm going to actually add the Maximus. Now, I send the Titaniclad here. Realistically, I should have sent the App Cologne, because I could have gone App Cologne, send Pankratops to search out the Schism, or other way around, search Schism, send Pank. And then I could have banished with the Maximus, and then still had the Titaniclad. A little bit of a mistake, but yeah, what are you going to do? We're going to send 2, and the reason I do this as well is because I kind of want to know what they're actually on. I was like, oh, maybe I can see an Exe monster, that, or a Numeron monster, so maybe I can do that. Turns out they didn't really reveal too much for me, but we're going to add the Schism to our hand and activate our Hedgehog. We're then going to add the Wendy, set the Wendy, and pass. Now, my opponent, of course, draws the Harpy's Feather Duster, but we are going to go for Shaddoll Schism here, and we are going to bring out the Winda in defense position, and I hear you screaming, why are you putting it in defense? Because Numerons! I'm still scared of Numerons, but as soon as I see the Girsu the Orchist Mech Knight come down, I realize, I have made a mistake. And then, of course, the Mech Knight follows suit. So there's that. But we do get to add back the Schism off of the Winda that was sent to the graveyard. Anyway, down comes the Morning Star, and they are going to add it to their hand the, what was it? World Legacy Secret. They're going to activate Succession. They're going to special summon out their Indigo Eclipse, and then move it across. So we still have our Maximus, we still have our Wendy, and of course we have Schism, Pankratops as well. And of course we draw for turn the Harpy's Feather Duster. So we're going to clean up the back row, which, if you don't know what this card does, let me quickly read it. Target a level 5 or higher monster in your graveyard, special summon it. When this card leaves the field, destroy it. Negate any opponent's monster effects that activate in the same column as a Mech Knight monster you control. So, of course, they have the Mech Knight here and here, which means we wouldn't have been able to activate anything as long as that card was on the field. So that was golden for us. Anyway, we're going to activate the Maximus. We're going to deal with some more things. I'm going to send the Entis as well as I think I sent the Wendigo. And then I am going to... Sorry. Lots of things happening. I'm going to pop their monster with the Entis. Then I'm going to flip summon up the Wendy, and we are going to special summon out the Hedgehog. Then I go for Pink, and because I forgot to put it in the same column as the Mech Knight of the Morning Star, I just used the Pink to deal with it. Then we set the Schism and pass the turn. And yeah, they can't really do anything. They're on one card, so I'm just going to banish 2 for the Construct. Construct effect is going to activate. We're going to send to Beast. Beast effect is going to activate. And we're going to draw into Ecclesia. Wow, an insane top deck. We draw Draco back. Not the best, but okay. We're going to flip up, draw the El Shaddoll Fusion. Then we're going to activate the effect of the Ecclesia to grab up the Fleur-de-Lis, activate the Fleur-de-Lis, special summon itself out, because it's the most amount of damage that we can do. Realistically, what I should have done is tributed, or fusion summoned using these two and the Shaddoll Fusion to go into another construct, because that would have got me... it would have got me closer to lethal. It wouldn't have been lethal. It would have been 200 off, but it would have been at the very least closer. Also, if you don't know, the Shaddoll monster that is summoned off of Schism can't attack directly, so that's why the construct doesn't attack for game there. Down comes the Mech Knight of the Blue Sky, and I'm just going to activate my El Shaddoll Fusion here in order to go into a window. But the Blue Sky comes down, they add the Indigo, and yeah, they no longer have columns. I'm going to activate 2 effects. We're going to search out the Wendy, and then we will add back the El Shaddoll Fusion. They're going to crash and deal with our monster, and again, during the during main phase, we're going to go into our Sheki Naga. And then, of course, for turn, I draw the Rite of Erebus here. At this point, the game is over. It's just cleaning it up. I'm going to equip the Draco back and just proceed to battle, deal a little bit more damage, and good game. And we are back with the deck. So overall, I think this deck is very interesting and in a weird spot in the meta. I think it's better than the Invoked engine a little because it can play going second a little bit better. However, it doesn't put up as consistently good of turn 1 boards, but as long as you can get to Schism, it's pretty good. However, it does lose to Ghost Ogre, which is notable, as do a lot of decks. But yeah, overall, Water Enchantress is very good, along with the Shaddolls being able to activate off of Fateful Adventure. Overall, this deck is very nice. As for some of the other cards, like the Pankratops, like the Lightning Storm, and other such cards, you don't really need to play them. I think something like Twin Twister would also be very good in this deck. Just back row removal is so advantageous, especially quick effect back row removal, I think. Because of all of the field spells that are running around. But again, you could just play Ghost Ogre as well. I think that would be better than things like the Ash and the Effect Veiler, and of course the Pankratops, to play those 3 instead. Or you could just boost up the amount of cards that you're playing in general. Anyway, that's it for the deck. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, a like is very much so appreciated. And if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh!, then just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye.